Hey everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell, and I am joined, as I always am, by Noah Fleischman. It's week 7. We're ready to talk NC State versus Duke. The Wolfpack are hitting the road for about a 30-minute drive up to Durham. They're going to stay in the same hotel they always stay in for home games, and they're going to travel up to Wallace Wade Stadium for a matchup against the Blue Devils, ranked number 17 in the country this week, coming off of a bye week. It's a really intriguing matchup, right? You have two of the best defenses in the ACC, maybe the two best defenses in the ACC, matched up against offenses that have, MJ Morris is making his second start of the season, and then you have uncertainty at the Duke quarterback spot, which we're going to get into. But before we do that, before we break down everything interesting about this matchup, a quick housekeeping note. Noah and I are both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That's the NC State site on the On3 network. It's the fastest growing college sports website on the internet. Go check it out. You can check out the NC State site at thewolfpacker.com. Find all of our great writing there. I just published a scouting report on Duke that we'll get into on the show. And Noah just published a story on Michael Allen in his breakout game last week. So it's only $1 to subscribe to our premium content. That scouting report I referenced, it is under a paywall, but it is only $1 to unlock the entire website. That is recruiting scoops. That is team news for football, women's and men's basketball, wrestling, just anything you could ask for NC State athletics-wise. We're going to cover it. We're going to talk about it, and it's all on thewolfpacker.com. And there's a fun group of fellow NC State fans on our message board. It's generally, I'd say, a pretty positive message board as far as message boards go. Get on there, chat it up, meet some of your fellow Wolfpack fans, all for $1. All right, Noah, let's get into it. Duke versus NC State. It's NC State's second game against a ranked opponent so far this year. Third if you retroactively count Louisville, who's now the number 12 team in the country. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Duke is led by Riley Leonard, star quarterback, future potential first-round NFL draft pick. But for those of you who did not watch the Notre Dame Duke game, Riley went out on I believe the last or the second to last play from scrimmage with a ankle injury that looked pretty serious. And in the days following, the reporting has been pretty varied on the severity of it, but the general feel is, we don't know who's going to line up under center for Duke at quarterback. Noah, you listened to head coach Mike Elko's press conference earlier this week. What did he tell you about what Duke is going to do under center this week?
He didn't really give a straight answer, which if you're a coach in college football these days, you're going to hide an injury as much as you can and make the other team prepare for two quarterbacks. He said Riley Leonard's considered day-to-day. He's been throwing the ball a little bit at practice. He's put weight on the foot, so he's kind of farther along than maybe some people think. There's a chance, I guess, he could play. This is an injury that takes, I think, 2 to 4 weeks to recover from or something like that, I think I read when it happened. So Saturday would put it at about 2 weeks since the injury, since they had a bye last week. So there's, I guess, a chance he could play. If I thought about it, I don't think he plays, and that'll bring up, a young, talented backup quarterback if that's the case. But Riley Leonard is a good quarterback, and, Dave Thorne and everyone are preparing for the fact that he may play because at the end of the day, this is a guy who his name was in the Heisman candidate this year and things like that. Like, he's a really good quarterback. And if you don't prepare for him and he plays, it's going to be a long day for your defense. So they're going contingency route, prepare for both, be ready for both, and see which one trots out there on 8 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't think you can overstate the impact Riley Leonard has on that offense. I mean, he really raises the ceiling of that group quite significantly with his rushing ability. I mean, if you look at, their two big-time games this year, they beat Clemson and they lost to Notre Dame, right? In those two games, he combined to throw for 309 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Those numbers, they're average, right? They're not what you want to see. But then you pair that with 186 rushing yards and some explosive ability in that part of the game, and you realize, oh, okay, this is why NFL scouts are intrigued by this guy. This is why he is considered one of the top quarterbacks in the country. If he cannot go against NC State, which if it was a high ankle sprain like some have reported, it's difficult to see a recovery in just a couple of weeks. That's usually a 3-4 week recovery. But if he's able to play that Duke offense, it's a challenging group to stop. They lead the ACC in rushing touchdowns. With 16, they're a very solid unit. So if he can't go, let's dive into a little bit of what that offense will look like without him. They're going to turn to Henry. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing Henry's last name, but Belen, the fourth. So far, the 6'3" redshirt freshman, he's played in 2 games, 29 total snaps. He threw 8 passes against Lafayette in September, completed all 8 of them for 118 yards, scored 1 touchdown rushing and 1 touchdown throwing the ball as well. So, can't get much better than that, given it was against Lafayette. So it'll be interesting to see in his first, Power 5 action of the season, how he lives up to that moment. And I mean, if you're NC State's defense, you hear that, you're like, oh, first-time starter, and you kind of have to be licking your chops a little bit, right? This is an NC State defense that leads the ACC in sacks. They are an incredibly productive unit, and they're rushing the passer at a super high level right now. So I think that if you have Henry back there, regardless of how good of a quarterback he is, which we really don't know at this point, NC State has an opportunity to make his life pretty difficult as a first-time starter. Now, let's switch gears to the other side of the ball. Duke's defense. They are right now the number 1 scoring defense in the ACC. They allow 11.2 points per game. That is extremely impressive. They, contained Notre Dame for most of the game against the Fighting Irish. They've shut down pretty much every other opponent they've played, including Clemson. Noah, what have you seen from that side of the ball that, kind of piques your interest, and just when you're isolating it, NC State's offense versus Duke's defense, what have you seen?
It's, their strength is one thing, and it's, pass coverage. You texted me earlier about it. Take a little dive into it. You pull up their PFF grades. I think their top 3 defensive players are all cornerbacks on the grades. Miles Jones, who's an injured corner, he'll make his way back this week. Josh Pickett and Chandler Rivers, all, top 3 corners on the team, and all 3 of the top, defensive grade. Miles Jones checking 88.8 on the season through his first 3 games, which is really, really good for a full season, on PFF. Obviously, it's just a small sample size of 3 games, but he can get the job done there. I mean, he's only allowed 6 receptions on 13 targets, only 1 missed tackle, 7 tackles on the year, 2 picks, which leads the team, and he's got 2 pass breakups as well. So he's a really dangerous corner. And when you're looking at NC State, this will be MJ Morris's first road start of his career. It is going to be his 4th start, but his first one on the road. So that one will be interesting to see how he handles it, and playing against a team like that can really protect against the pass. It's going to lean on NC State's run game. I think it broke out this past week against Marshall, who has a really, really good run defense. So it's a good thing to see that they can run the ball against good teams. And we'll see if they can do that against this Duke front. Because if they can't, it might be difficult to move the ball. So if you can't throw the ball, you're going to have to be able to run it. And if you can't run it, then I don't know what they're going to do. But it's going to get really tough moving the ball. And we heard it this week, basically saying on both sides have said it's going to be tough to get yards in this game. These are the 2 of the best defenses, as you said earlier, in the ACC and even in the country. So it'll be really interesting to see, how NC State's offense, albeit young, can go up against a really veteran and really good, defense that Duke has.
Yeah, and when they went against Notre Dame, they held Notre Dame to 21 points. It was 14 points until as most people saw that last second touchdown with, I believe, 30 something seconds left against the Blue Devils. But they held star running back Audric Estime to 18 carries for 81 yards. I mean, for those are still good numbers, but for Estime, that's a pretty good job of slowing him down. So Duke can stop the run through the passing game. Like you said, they have really good corners. They're going to get some guys back from injury too they're going to really kind of be able to shut down, I think, the outside of NC State's offense. So then you're looking at, all right, the best part of NC State's offense has been, the pop passes, the quick passes to KC, and just working the balls to Kevin Concepcion and Julian Gray and Porter Rooks at times. It's mostly been an inside receiver and tight end dominated offense when it's been successful. Duke knows that. Mike Elko is one of the best coaches in the country right now. He's going to have a scheme, especially with an extra week of preparation, to slow down KC. They're gonna be ready for the pop passes. They noticed how heavily NC State relied on that, and like Robert and I told us this week, like that can't be the entire offense. It's great that KC popped when he did against Marshall, right? And he's been great all year. He's the leading receiver on the team. He's a midseason true freshman All-American. He is awesome. NC State will need more than just KC's brilliance against Duke. Where does that come from? I don't really know. Something that concerned me when I was going back and watching the Duke-Notre Dame game. Duke got pressure with 4 guys pretty consistently against a pretty solid Notre Dame offensive line. So you have you're not even blitzing anyone. You're able to drop 8 guys in the coverage. I could see that causing some issues for NC State on Saturday, especially with the talented defensive backs that the Blue Devils are going to bring to the field. So that's going to be interesting. Noah, I think you're feeling a little more optimistic about this game than me. Before we dive into the matchup a little more, I want to break this up by just, Noah, give me one reason to be optimistic about NC State's chances in this matchup.
Yeah, I think it starts with the defense. We've talked about these two defenses being really good. NC State has probably the best defense in the ACC when it comes to pressuring a quarterback. Leads the league in sacks. Peyton Wilson leads the league in tackles. Red Hibbler's 5th in sacks. They can get to the quarterback. They can swarm to the ball well, which I think will help a lot against Duke, especially if they play a backup quarterback. Putting a lot of pressure on the backup quarterback is gonna cause issues. So I think that is really a good place to start. Just getting to the quarterback, and NC State's proven they can do it. Marshall's not a bad team. They got 20 total quarterback pressures in the game. That shows you. Obviously, Duke's offensive line, very veteran, a lot of graduates across the front. It's going to cause a problem, but NC State has 7 guys that rotate on the defensive front. Red Hibbler, we talked about him. He is just a straight-up pass rusher. You put him in, tell him to go get the quarterback, and he'll do that. And I think that they might do that, especially with the young quarterback under center. You got to try to rattle him a little bit and get him off his game.
And, that's what concerns me, is that I don't know if they're going to have to rely on that much, because they're going to have Jordan Waters in the backfield. He has 8 touchdowns so far this year in 5 games. He's a really solid back, obviously bolstered by the attention that Riley Leonard draws in the quarterback passing game. I don't know if the backup will draw that much attention, but we really, and I think even Coach Gibson said during press conferences today that they don't know how much they're going to use Henry Boleyn in the running game if he plays. So it's going to be our kind of wait and see approach to even know what that Duke offense is going to look like. But when you have Waters in the backfield, right? He's averaging 5.8 yards per carry right now. He had averaging 4.21 yards after contact. He's a tough runner. He ran through tackles against a Notre Dame defense that, hey, NC State knows is a very talented unit. So they're going to have, they still have weapons on that offense, even with Riley Leonard out. Jordan Moore is a pretty good outside receiver for them. I noticed they'll just throw the ball up to him, give him a chance to make a play, and he's pretty good at that. So that's something to watch. Optimism-wise, for me, offensively, Notre Dame had some success with tight ends, using the tight ends in the passing game. Given that is Notre Dame, I think they've had success with their tight ends against 80% of teams for the past decade. So, but it does make it interesting where, hey, if Duke's outside corners are so good, what can Robert and I draw up to make you kind of maybe expose the middle of the field, work through the middle of the field and stuff like that. I'm interested to see what kind of game plan Robert and I brings out, because I know he has been the subject of a lot of criticism for Wolfpack fans over the past few weeks. But I thought his game plan against Marshall was really cool. I thought there was a lot of exciting play calls, some interesting, obviously the pop passes has been the subject of much discussion, but he didn't go away from it. It was working, so he stuck with it, and that is something that I think is an underrated quality in an offensive coordinator. If it's not broke, don't go fix it. But he will have to come out with a new, different, exciting plan. Another note that I wanted to throw out there before we move on is the Duke's getting back Graham Barton this week. He missed the Notre Dame game with an injury. He is a future NFL player, probably a first-round pick at left tackle. Very solid player, 6'5", 314. He's a preseason second-team All-American by Athlon. This season, though, a lot of hype for him coming into the year. He's posted mediocre kind of metrics. I mean, he posted a 71.6 PFF grade, right? Like that's above average, absolutely. And his pass blocking grade is outstanding. He can protect, the quarterback very well. His run blocking grade was so. So, this is certainly not Graham Barton slander. He's a very good player, but he has allowed 1 sack and 4 pressures this year. Something to keep an eye on. That is going to be a fascinating matchup against, like you said, Red Hibbler, against Davin Van. I'm really excited to see what happens there. Noah, before we go to break, let's dive into our weekly Keys to the Game segment. What is one thing that is going to help decide NC State's matchup with Duke on Saturday?
The special teams. Special teams are going to be a big emphasis. Especially if it's a defensive battle, you're going to want to get any points you can. And punt and kickoff return is going to be the spot. NC State has done really well in both of those spots this year. And if they can set up near midfield and tell the offense, you only need to move the ball 15 yards, 20 yards to get a field goal, I think that NC State will feel really good about that, because points are going to it's not going to be 48-41 like we saw this past weekend. I'll tell you that right now. These two defenses are too good for that. So I think special teams return between Julian Gray and Jalen Coit are going to be, a big key if NC State wants to go into Durham and come out to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going off of that, like both punters are really good. Caden Noonkester had a weird off game against Marshall, had his first shank. Like Coach Doran said, hopefully his last. Porter Wilson, the Blue Devils punter, he's second in the ACC, 47.8 yards per punt. He's only punted 15 times this year, which is a pretty low number, and 8 of those have traveled 50 yards or more. So he's a field flipping guy. And then NC State has a pretty strong advantage in the place kicking battle, which you kind of touched on. I think that could play just a huge role in this game, right? Because I think both of these teams are going to bend and not break very often. Todd Polino, the kicker, he's a sophomore. He's taken 9 field goals and hit 5. He's hit 1 from 50, so he has a big leg. But from inside 40 yards, he is 2 of 5 this season. He missed 2 attempts within that range against Notre Dame, which obviously that's a big spot. And then with the week off, who knows where his confidence is at. So that kind of parlays into what my biggest key of the game is red zone success. If you can force, bend, don't break, allow Duke, if they make it into the red zone, you batten down the hatches and force a field goal, it's not a lock that Polino is going to nail that kick. So on the other side of the ball, NC State needs to leave those possessions with touchdowns, right? So far this year, they are tied for number 76 nationally in red zone offense. That's 22 attempts, and NC State has scored 18 times. So that's not the best mark, but it's not bad, especially when you consider 15 of those 18 scores have been touchdowns. So that's a really high percentage and a really encouraging number for what the Wolfpack has done in the red zone. They need to continue to do that against Duke. Can't really settle for field goals here. If you get it inside the 20-yard lines, you have to punch it in. That is the biggest key to the game. If they can do that, I think NC State has a good shot on Saturday. All right, we're going to pick the spread. We're going to go full prediction mode after the break here. But first, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace. Whether you're looking for, tickets to the game, tickets to a concert, a comedy show, literally anything that you need a ticket for, first go check it out on Game Time. I promise you, great deals on there. I use it myself. And by far my favorite part of it is when you log on and you go and you look for tickets to go to make the trip up to Durham, as Dylan McMahon asked Wolfpack Nation to do in press conferences today. He wants to see a lot of Wolfpack fans there, and you can make it there for only $30 right now. Duke, the way their stadium works, Wallace Wade Stadium, they have general admission seating in certain spots, and you can get a general admission ticket for $30. So that's a great deal. And I love that when you get on there, you can see exactly where you'd be sitting from. They give you the seat view. Here's a look at Wallace Wade Stadium for Saturday. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up my phone to the camera, and you can see exactly the view of where you would be sitting. And it's pretty cool. And I just go check it out. Cheapest ticket, $30. That's a great deal. And when you use code Wolfpack, that's all caps Wolfpack on your first purchase, you get $20 off. So, hey, shoot, you can go for $10. That's a great deal for a primetime college football game against a ranked opponent. Man, shoot, if I wasn't covering the game, I think that would be far beyond the price. That'd be great. But go check it out. It's the Game Time app on all the app stores. You can also find it at gametime.co. That's not .com. That's .co. Go check it out. Use code Wolfpack for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Noah. It's that time of the week again, our favorite time of the week, and another opportunity for us to completely screw up our score prediction. If you have been following along with our predictions this past couple weeks, they haven't been pretty. But to be fair, I don't think anyone has. We both expected the Louisville game to be a high-scoring affair, and it was a defensive battle. We expected the Marshall game to be a little more of a defensive battle, and it was a shootout. So, we're gonna pick the spread. We're gonna pick the over/under. But hey, I say trust your gut on this one, because who knows right now, right? All right, the spread right now. NC State is a 3.5-point underdog on the road against Duke. Noah, what's your thought on that? Who's covering and why?
They opened as a 2-point underdog, so it's swung a little bit in favor of the Blue Devils. Okay, you see that. Number 17 team in the country. I say, you said what, 3.5 points?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, State will cover that, I believe. If you want a score, I can tell you a score. I believe it's 24-20, and the Wolfpack will win.
Awesome. And what gives you that impression? What puts it over the top where you're like, all right, yeah, I'm confident that NC State's going to go on the road and pick up their first top 25 win of the season?
It comes down to me thinking that Riley Leonard's not going to play. Obviously, if he plays, Duke is easily the better team on the field. That's just how good he is as a quarterback and as a runner and as everything on the offense. They become a better team. But I think without him, a redshirt freshman who is good, we've seen a small sample size of him this year. I just don't like that, I guess, if you're a Duke fan, going up against a defense like NC State has, where they can get after the quarterback and get after and shut down a run game. We've seen them do it back-to-back weeks of really good run defense. And if you have a young quarterback, you're going to want to hand the ball off. But if you can't run the ball, then you're going to be forced to throw. And Tony Gibson's really good at making teams one-dimensional. So we'll see if he's able to do that this week. So that's where my head is at today going into Saturday's game.
Awesome. And, it's not a good podcast without debate, and I'm going to have to disagree with you. I also have NC State covering. I will say that. I think it is going to be a very close game. I do not have the Wolfpack winning. I have them winning. I have them losing a very close 17-16 game on a last-second fourth-quarter field goal. I just have a hard time seeing how NC State's going to move the ball against this Blue Devil defense. Maybe Robert and I comes out with a really cool game plan. Maybe MJ Morris takes another huge step forward. And maybe Michael Allen and Delbert Mims and the potential return of Kendrick Raphael kind of continues to grow the running game. If all that happens, then I see NC State winning this game. But right now, I haven't seen enough from the offense to completely inspire enough confidence that they will go in and score enough points to beat Duke. I think it's really hard to score touchdowns in the red zone against this team. They showed that against Notre Dame. They've shown that against every team they've played this season. So, I don't get me wrong, NC State fans. I think NC State has a great chance to win this game. I just don't feel comfortable picking it for now. I do think they'll cover though. Going off of that, the over/under for this one, it's 45. I would be hammering the under there. I think that is a safe under bet. I think, especially if Riley Leonard doesn't play, this is going to be a low scoring game. Lots of punts, lots of field goals. Special teams are going to be crucial, and it's going to be an exciting event for that reason. All right, Noah, we're going to switch up the order of things since this is going to be most likely a defense-focused game. Give me the leading tackler for NC State. For those keeping track at home, it has been a consistent theme through the first 6 games of the year. Peyton Wilson is leading this team in tackles by a wide margin. He's led them in tackles for every game. Noah, you going with a different direction here?
No, I'm going to take the easy one here. And Peyton Wilson, 70 tackles. The next closest, I believe, is at 34, 35 in Jalen Scott. So tells you how dominant of a tackler Peyton Wilson is. He's having a standout final season in Raleigh. He was named, All-American, mid-season All-American by 2 different places today, PFF and the, Senior Bowl. I think that's all you need to know. Peyton Wilson is definitely making himself a lot of money every game, for the future. I think every game he goes out there and leads them in tackles, more money could ring in, from the NFL. So give me Peyton Wilson.
It's been cool to watch over the past couple months where, if you've paid attention to NC State's program, if you've covered NC State, you've known for years how awesome Peyton Wilson is. He is as talented as any linebacker in the country. It's literally just been health. It has been health holding him back. And this year, oh my gosh, how awesome has he been? He is arguably the best defensive player in the country right now, in my opinion. He's putting up the numbers to back it up. And, yeah, he's going to lead NC State in tackles on Saturday. I bet he leads NC State in tackles for the rest of the season if he stays healthy. I mean, he's just that good. This is one of those games where he should have plenty of opportunities, especially if Duke's not running the quarterback that much. Peyton should be able to really key in on rushing the passer or, fill in run gaps, stopping the run. So that'll be really interesting to see. I agree. He'll lead the team in tackles. I do want to mention Savion Jackson, who has been really awesome at defending the run this year, really standing out in that category. And I think he has a chance to put up some impressive numbers against Duke because he has I'm not sure whether he or Davin Vann will be lined up against Duke's star left tackle, but either one of them will have quite the matchup. And it'll be fun to watch, especially in the run game, because that I think Duke's going to rely pretty heavily on running the ball. All right, running backs. Noah, you've written about it a couple times in the past couple weeks. It was like it was kind of nice to see, running backs lead the team in rushing, and you had Michael Allen and Delbert Mims get into their respective rhythms. Michael Allen averaging over 7 yards per carry for the 3rd time so far this season. He's starting to emerge. He broke off that 37-yard run for a touchdown, which was the longest run by a Wolfpack player this year. But going into the Duke game, who do you have leading the team in rushing?
Yeah, I'm going to take Michael Allen again. He's a guy who's running the ball really well. He had 9 carries. First of all, he only played 9 snaps in the game. Had 9 carries, 70 yards, touchdown. Pretty good when you're averaging carry a snap and you're putting up numbers like that. So I think you will. If Kendrick Raphael comes back and can get his feet under him again after missing a couple weeks, I think he's got a really good shot at being, the leading rusher on this team in a game. But this week, I think, Michael Allen his snaps and carries are 2 to 1 what Delbert Mims is, but he just has that ability to get out in space and run. I mean, a 37-yard runner, he got close to 20 miles an hour. He's fast, so I'll take Michael Allen again to lead them in rushing, but I do think Delbert Mims has another solid game, for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and I agree with all of your points, but I'm taking Delbert. I think it is going to be a big game for him. I really liked his 18-yard touchdown run. I thought he looked shifty. I thought he looked quick. He is more than just that short yardage back that he has looked so good at doing so far this year. This is going to be an old school smash mouth football game. You need tough runs, and when you need tough yards this season, you need to call 1-800-Delbert because he has been awesome so far this year. When you really just need, that 3rd and 2, that 4th and 1, Delbert has been that guy. And I think, it looks like he's kind of taking it like personally. He's like, I'm more than a short yardage back. I can make a few guys miss. I can break tackles. And I think he's looked good doing that against Marshall. I think he's going to continue doing that. And NC State is going to rely on him as a steady presence, like, that 4 yards per carry in a cloud of dust type deal. And I think he'll look really solid. All right, to round out our predictions, let's go with receivers. Who's going to lead NC State in receiving? Obviously, last week it was Kevin Concepcion. Thanks to that steady diet of pop passes, Trent Penix also finished with 99 yards receiving as well. Noah, who you got?
Put me on the Trent Penix train. Kind of a tongue twister there. I think he has another big day. Here's why. Duke has really good corners. We've talked about that. Outside corners, shutdown corners. They're going to be on guys like Terrell Timmons, Keon the Same. They're going to be on him. They're going to have keyed in on Kevin Concepcion just because of how good and, talented that guy is.
Yeah.
So who does that leave? It leaves your tight end. And they used him in the past game last week for the first time basically all year on a consistent, give me a lot of yards way. And it worked. 3 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has some speed and space. Former running back. He's a lot, faster than some tight ends are. It's a mismatch, especially if you get him lined up with a linebacker. Take Trent Penix every day of the week. I think he can outrun basically any linebacker you put in front of him. So I think, they'll get a few big plays from him. He's not a guy who's going to catch 10 passes in a game, but I think he's due for 3 or 4 big catches. And he had 2 last week. Give me another 2 or 3 this week, and he'll lead the way.
Yeah, I think that's a very good pick. I think he might have been my pick too, but I'll go in a different direction for the sake of podcasting. And it's not going to be KC. I think KC has moved away from this territory where we're like, oh, wow, this freshman is really good, to, oh, wow, Kevin Concepcion is the best player in this offense. And I think he's going to be treated as such for the rest of the year. Can you stop him? No, I don't think so. I think NC State will get the ball into his hands, and he's too good to be completely taken out of the game as long as you're finding ways to get him touches. I think he'll still have a good game, but I think Duke is going to make a concerted effort to stop KC. And we'll see how that goes. And for that reason, I'm going to go Julian Gray. He's another guy that they want to get the ball in his hands more. He's another guy that I don't know if there's anyone faster on NC State's team. We've seen that on kickoff returns. I think we'll see a little bit of explosiveness from him with so much of the effort focused on stopping KC. Maybe the other, that flex Y receiver position, he can get out in the middle of the field and, turn some quick passes into large gains. And I think he's going to have a bit of a breakout as a receiver and show the, dynamic explosiveness that we've seen all year on special teams from him. All right, Noah, we are almost done with today's show, but before we leave, like we do every week on the show, we want to make one bold prediction. This is meant to tease a story that Noah comes out with every week, his 5 bold prediction story. Noah, do you remember how many you hit on for the Marshall game?
Yeah, it was my best week. We went 3 for 5. So hold up, everybody. I'm hot.
And hey, there's 60% when it's supposed to be a bold prediction. Hey, that's pretty dang good. So Noah, keep the good vibes rolling. What's your bold prediction for the upcoming game?
Bold prediction. This one will be included in Friday's, story that comes out every Friday, the Friday 5. I'm gonna say NC State's defense records more than 1 interception. so 2 or more interceptions in the game. I think corners come alive a little bit. Aiden White is, obviously knows what he do. Shaheem Battle's been up and down, but he's a solid corner. And then the safeties, can do it. I mean, Robert Kennedy at nickel leads the team in interceptions. I think this is a breakout game for the secondary. They had multiple interceptions, and it's going to be key in turning this game around, giving the offense short fields to work with. So give me the interceptions.
Yeah, I like that one. I think it's pretty clear. Like, this is the unit that led the ACC in interceptions last year. Them and Louisville were right at the top there, and they're second, I believe, this year as well. So they force turnovers. They are an opportunistic defense, and I bet that will continue this weekend. My bold prediction is, I've already touched on it. I don't think either team is scoring 20 points. I think it is going to be a true grinded out, points at a premium, special teams deciding type of game. Lots of field goals. Just I know NC State fans, you're like, we watched so many of those the second half of last year, and I know it's going to be tough, but I think against a game like against an opponent like Duke, that's kind of how you want this game to go, because if it turns into a shootout, then I think Duke's defense is too good at stopping teams through the air to really keep NC State in a game where Duke's scoring a lot of points. So grinded out game, whoever kicks last wins type of matchup, and we'll see how it goes. But I know we might get angry comments like we do every week, but I don't think NC State has no shot. They have a good chance to win this game. Noah thinks they're going to win, and he's usually more pessimistic than me. So I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an exciting one. Noah and I will be in Durham to watch it. 8 p.m. kickoff on the ACC network. Prime time, exciting in-state rivalry. First time they've been there since 2013. That's Dave Doran's first year, and that was the year that Duke went to the Chick-fil-A Bowl and lost to a Johnny Manziel-led Texas A&M squad. So, this might be the best Duke team since then. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited. Noah's excited. And we'll have full coverage in the time leading up to and after that game. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Please go check us out on thewolfpacker.com, and please go check out Game Time as well. We will be back on Sunday to recap all of the action, talk through the win or the loss, and share our takeaways from it. My name's Ethan, and I'm with Noah. This is the Wolfpacker Show. We'll see you in a few days.